3, 2, 1, go live.
Good evening, New Brighton families and community. Hopefully you are able to receive this live YouTube. I'm here at New Brighton Middle School with my assistant principal, Christina Hadrius, and all I can see is the slideshow and myself and our assistant principal, Christina Hadrius. So welcome everybody. It's really exciting to get off another school year. And we had a wonderful time this morning when we met with students here on campus. I'm sorry that we weren't able to host parents on campus, but per California Department of Public Health guidelines, we're trying to limit large gatherings. And so we decided to meet with our students only. And hopefully you got the email that I sent out at the end of July stating that it would be a parent virtual meeting and a student in-person meeting. And so Christina, can you go to the next slide, please?
Absolutely. And I do see that we're starting to get some questions on our
Excellent.
video. That's good. Oh, you just did some introduction.
Well, the introductions are right there. There's Christina Hadrius. She's our assistant principal. I'm the principal and very happy to be so. And probably need to add a little bit more gray to the color on my hair, please, for the next time, Miss Hadrius.
Definitely.
But you can go to the next slide. So if you want to ask some questions, you can go to this document and put in your questions there. And we intend to get through some slides and then answer as many questions as we can that you might have about New Brighton Middle School and your child coming here this year. And so please make use of that. And we are going to go through some pertinent information this evening about New Brighton Middle School. We're going to talk about some COVID-19 implications, but we are definitely looking forward to seeing all our students back on campus. It was a highlight of the year so far for me today to see 200 plus sixth graders with a smattering of seventh and eighth graders in there. I got into education because I like helping children learn, and I still enjoy doing that. And so it's going to be great to have your students back on campus full time with us. Ms. Hadrius, could you go to the next slide, please? We do have some slides that covering some COVID related issues. This year, per the current guidelines, regardless of vaccination status, everyone will wear a mask indoors, and outside it's going to be optional. We don't need to pay attention to the social distancing indoors like we had to in last year, but we will be wearing a mask indoors. We're going to require that parents still screen students for symptoms before school. And if a student has any COVID-like symptoms, please keep them home until symptoms have died down. In some instances, it might be necessary to have a negative COVID-19 test, but not in all instances. But we'll get into that a little bit later. And as I said earlier, there's no social distancing requirements in the classroom or outside currently. Can you go to the next slide, please, Christina? Our drinking fountains are currently closed, so students should bring a water bottle to school. We do have a couple of filling stations on campus.
Mr. Brock, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, not a problem.
Yeah, is there any chance we can just pause for a minute and maybe, maybe can you say a couple of these things in Spanish for our Spanish viewers that are at home watching this?
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, the slides are in Spanish, but if you can maybe just go over a little bit what you just talked about.
Okay, all right. So todos usaron máscaras en el interior, el exterior es opcional y los padres deben evaluar los síntomas de sus estudiantes antes de la escuela. Si un estudiante tiene síntomas, quédese en casa y no hay requisitos de distanciamiento para el aula. I'll try to do that as I'm going through it this time, Ms. Hadris, so that we don't have to go back.
Great, thank you.
So,
And then I think
as I said, the drinking fountains are closed, but we do have water filling stations. So the bebederas están cerrados y los estudiantes deben traer una botella de agua. With regards to parents and visitors on campus, we're not currently allowing that. If you need to come to the office, please call the office, questions or concerns. No hay padres o visitantes en el campus en este momento. Llame a la oficina si tiene preguntas o inquietudes. And students will eat outside whenever possible. That should be for most of the school year. There will be days when it's rainy days and we'll be under the overhang. So los estudiantes van a comer afuera de las aulas. And we also still will be using air purifiers in every classroom, purificadores de aire en todas las aulas.
all right.
Okay, some things to bring to school. ¿Qué traer a la escuela? Obviously, I talked about a water bottle for the water filling stations. Snack and lunch, merienda y almuerzo. There will be school lunches and school meals served. We'll talk a little bit about that later. We are going to distribute Chromebooks to all students. So students need to bring their Chromebook and charger every day, fully charged. And we're going to hand out the Chromebooks on the first day of school, but there will be some paperwork that you need to fill out in your parent portal. Christina, I don't know if you want to talk about the parent portal a little bit later or now.
Yeah, I can talk about the parent portal a little bit later when we discuss classes.
Okay, so los niños van a tener un Chromebook escolar completamente cargado y cargador. Los Chromebooks se entregarán el primer día de las clases solo si se ha completado el papelito de regreso a clases. And of course, it's a good idea to bring a backpack for books, binders, Chromebook, etc.
Great. And just to let you know, Mr. Broadhurst, since I have all the questions, I do see some chat going on YouTube. So I do see those questions. And I also am having, I've received some questions through our Google form as well that we will get to at the end.
Okay. All right. So if you go to the next slide, just a bit more on COVID and monitoring symptoms. Okay. Your child does need to stay home if they're experiencing any of these symptoms. Su hijo debe quedarse en casa si experimenta alguno de estos síntomas. And please call the office to report any absence. Llame a la oficina para informar la ausencia. Would be a good idea to put the school phone number there, which is 464-5660.
Yep, thank you.
And obviously, please call the office if your child has been in close contact with a positive COVID-19 case or has tested positive themselves. Llame a la oficina si su hijo ha estado en contacto cercano con un caso positivo de COVID-19 o ha dado positivo en la prueba.
Mm-hmm. I do want to, let's see. So the next one is more in details about what to do when a student has COVID-19 symptoms. And this does apply for students that are vaccinated and unvaccinated. So even students that are vaccinated are still, students and staff are following the same protocols because of the breakthrough cases. So any student or staff has to follow these protocols. Do you want to go over them? Or would you like me to, Mr. Broadhurst? I can say it and you can go over it.
Go ahead, Ms. Hadrius.
Oh, great. So if the symptoms are occurring at school, then we do have an isolation health room on campus that we would evaluate the student in. and before returning to school. So if the student leaves school or if they're sick at home with symptoms, before they return to school, they need to have 24 hours that have passed since any fever, and their symptoms have improved, and a negative COVID test. So there's three things that need to happen. They need to have no fever for 24 hours, symptoms have improved, and a negative PCR COVID test.
Or
Go ahead, Mr. Rudders.
or it could be a doctor's note if it was if there was another diagnosis, like typical symptoms of something like allergies or asthma.
Allergies, right? If it's something that's ongoing that they have chronically, or that a doctor would diagnose as a chronic symptom, then that would be acceptable too. And or if you're not going to get a negative COVID test, then it would be 10 days since the first day of symptoms. So we're still doing the 10 days, first day of symptoms without a COVID test. I don't know if you want to say that in Spanish at all.
And then if somebody does need to go on out for 10 days, we can put them on
The independent study.
independent study.
That is correct. Mhm.
So let's just go on to the next slide right now.
No problem. We can talk about school meals.
Okay, so all students can continue to get free breakfast or free lunch or both. If people want single or extra items, they must be paid for at the regular price. So desayuno, breakfast will be served before school and during break. El desayuno se servirá antes de la escuela y durante las vacaciones. Almuerzo or lunch is served daily or diariamente. Perdón, mi español no es perfecto.
So I'll just want to add here, we are doing something different this year. Our child nutrition services will be serving breakfast before school, which is really exciting. So breakfast will begin serving, I believe it's at 8:15. We'll double check the time and make sure that information gets out to families. But breakfast will be served before school, and then we'll have a break during the day after their first or second period class. And then there will be another opportunity for breakfast to be served, or other snack items that students could purchase. And then in addition to that, there will also be a lunch that day, which students will have access to a free lunch if they'd like the free lunch, which will be different options. And I think it'll be, no, I know it will be different than last year's free lunches. So we're really excited about that. Okay, block schedule.
Okay, so this year, we've moved to a block schedule, similar to some other middle schools, and quite a few high schools are on block schedule. I know SoCal High's been on a block schedule for some years. And I'm going to explain a little bit of what you're seeing here. Mondays and Wednesdays are A days. Tuesdays and Thursdays are B days. And then we have our early release day on Friday. On A days, Monday, Wednesday, students have periods 1, 3, and 5, and then their flex period, which is period 7. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, students have periods 2, 4, and 6, and their flex period. And then on Fridays, they have all of their periods except the flex period. And you can see where the breaks and the lunches are in there. The 0 period isn't a period that everybody's going to every student's going to have. 0 period would be for somebody, for example, if you had an IEP and you needed to have learning center during your school day, that has been in place of your elective class. So we were trying to figure out a way that students who needed to have a learning center could also have an elective class. So we've put the 0 period in, and a student with an IEP could take physical education during the 0 period, which means they wouldn't have to take PE 1 through 6. That opens up a space for an elective class. The same is for students who are English language learners who have to have an ELD class. In the past, that has been in lieu of an elective class. And we wanted to make sure that our students with IEPs and students who are having an English language development class can also have access to the elective classes. And so that's why the 0 period has been included in this schedule, so that they can have an elective class during their day.
Yeah, and I can just mention also, there might be other classes or other students that would be taking a 0 period class, but we do give priority to EL and I students that are in Learning Center. But if you're an AVID, or if you're taking band, perhaps a year-long class, and you're interested in a 0 period, just let us know and we can put you on the wait list.
And the flex period is something we're really excited about this year. It's kind of a new period to support student learning. It's 35 minutes at the end of Monday through Thursday. And that can be a place for student enrichment. It can be a place where a student might want to work on some homework. It could be a place where they might want to work on silent reading or some reading. It might be that a student would go back to one of their classroom teachers to get some extra help with something that they were having a hard time learning. So those are basically the main reasons to have a flex period. Another use of the flex period is if we're doing any social emotional learning activities that can be put in during that time. If we're distributing report cards or collecting envelopes with photograph information in, or distributing flyers for photographs, it can be done during that flex period time. So we're really excited to see how that supports student learning, and it's an exciting development. Do you want to talk a little bit about schedules, Christina?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of you should have received an email today with instructions on how to sign up for your Infinite Campus portal. And I heard already that it looks like some people were able to see a schedule through that. And I just wanted to let you know that there's still possible changes that could be happening. I did turn it off. It looks like the calendar view was on, or attendance was on or something, and people were able to find a way to find their schedule. So that's turned off. So you still can't see your schedules yet. Students can't see their schedules until Monday, August 9th at 5 o'clock, because we're still busily working on the schedules. And so they're not done. So if someone saw their schedule today, just to let you know that there's a good chance that, it still could possibly change. But if you're having any difficulty signing into your Infinite Campus, please, you can contact the office, but you should have received a link that directly will put you to, I did it myself because I'm also a parent here. So I just clicked on the link and it took me to a web page where I just put in my name and my username, and I created a password, and that was it. And I was in my portal. So it was pretty easy on my end, although I did check a couple things. On your phone, it wasn't so easy to access on the phone. So please don't use your phone to do it. Make sure you use a personal computer. And another thing that I noticed as well, once I clicked the link was not valid anymore. So that I did notice the little issues there. And then I went back to click the link again, and it said the link was not valid. So if you have any issues and you come across anything, just let the office know and we'll try to help sort you through that.
Yeah, for families that have been with us with previous students, we've moved our student information system to Infinite Campus, and there's a lot to learn with regards to Infinite Campus. And so I guess I'm not surprised that there's some hiccups, that there's always seems to be some hiccups when we're implementing a new system such as the student information system. And that also reminds me, I sent out a couple of emails, and I'm hearing that some people are receiving them in their spam folder, and it's coming from info@NBMS, if I'm not mistaken. And so we're trying to work on it at our end. I don't know if at your end, as a receiver of the email, if you move it from the spam to your inbox if it then is going to make sure every email that comes from that address will go to your inbox. I think I've seen where you have the option to say future emails from this address will go to the inbox.
Well, so don't save that email just yet because we are working on changing the email. Again, this is brand new. Infinite Campus is brand new for us. And so we're trying to, like today, you should have seen the email from SUESD. So we want the email to come from NBMS, and hopefully it will prevent it from going to spam folders, but it still might have the spam folder issue. But we're working on making those adjustments. Okay.
All right. So I think we're on to the next slide, Christina.
Did we release Friday at all?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot to talk about early release Friday. Oh yeah, so Friday is an early release day for students. So Fridays in the afternoons, that's when we have our staff meetings or professional development meetings or grade level meetings or department meetings. So that's why students are released a little bit earlier. And students will have all periods. As you can see, they're only 40 minutes long. And they'll have 1 through 6 with a break in the middle on Fridays. And then pickup time will be 1:25 p.m. Which is similar to previous years where Friday was an earlier release day.
Yeah, we purposely eliminated lunch on that day and a separate break if you notice the times, just because periods are shorter, just to have one break so that the students can get out earlier that day. But there still will be a breakfast served before school, and then lunch will be served during the break that day.
Those of you who came to us from SoCal, Santa Cruz Gardens, or Main Street all have similar ways. This is the New Brighton way. And this morning we had over 200 students, mainly 6th graders, but some 7th and 8th. And I was commenting to them about how respectful they were being with regards to sitting and listening to myself and Miss Hadris say a few words. Not always the easiest thing to do, but the students were super respectful. And we talked about how life is better when people are being respectful, responsible, being safe, and being kind. And we'll continue to emphasize these traits throughout the year. We have a Student of the Month award, which is where every teacher will choose one student per month as their Student of the Month, often because they've been exhibiting exemplary respectfulness or responsibility or being kind and being safe. We have Viking vouchers, which is a voucher that can be traded in for some prizes in the office, or can be used to jump to the front of a food line. And so we try to emphasize these core values, and would appreciate you emphasizing them at home too. It makes everybody's life a little more enjoyable when people are exhibiting these. So that's our New Brighton way. And I must say, we have a lot of great students, families, adults who work here at New Brighton. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I work here, but I put my own daughter through this school. Many of our teachers are bringing their students or have brought their students to this school. Miss Hadrius currently has a student at our school. And emphasizing things like being respectful goes a long way to help creating an atmosphere that is safe for your student to learn in. And we also talked a little bit about student safety today, because that is our number one priority, and students can't learn if they don't feel safe. And so we talked about how students can maintain feelings of being safe and what they should do if they don't feel safe. They should either tell somebody, an adult here at school, it could be a friend also, if they don't feel comfortable telling an adult. Hopefully that friend would share that with an adult. Obviously, we want them to talk to you at home. because we want to make sure that we're acting on any student that is feeling unsafe. And for the most part, over the last few years, it's been a lot to do with social media and phones. And so I'm sure you've had the conversation with your student about social media and the responsibility they have when they're using that. And we had that conversation too. And I'm just hoping for a great year with our students back on campus, and want to really emphasize safety. And I think being respectful, responsible, safe, and kind is going to go a long way into helping students feel safe so they can learn and have great memories here at New Brighton Middle School. Do you want to go to the next slide? Okay. These are the classes that a student typically has. Humanities is actually two subjects. It's language arts and social studies. And they are, so if your child has humanities first and second period, we call it humanities, but it'd be language arts for first period and social studies for second period. So those are two classes linked together as humanities. Child will have a math class, they'll have a science class, they'll have a PE class, and they'll have an elective class, and they may have a learning center if they have an IEP. So not everybody gets a learning center. And on top of that, they will have the flex period as well, which is technically not a class, but it is another period as well as the ones you see here. Can you go to the next slide, Ms. Idris? So at New Brighton, we're on the quarter and the semester system. So there's 4 quarters to the year. They last about 9 weeks. And at the end of first quarter, second, third, and fourth as well, there's a report card. Halfway through the quarter, every about 4 to 5 weeks, there's a chance to look at their progress. You'll be able to see your child's grades 24/7 once your parent portal is up and running. But we do send out a progress report at the halfway period through the quarters. And so 4 quarters, and then you'll get a progress report during each of those quarters. With regards to grades, we do have a traditional grading system. We're actually looking at that, about excited to try some changes about standards-based grading, but that's a conversation for another time. But typically your student's going to get an A, a B, a C, or a D, hopefully no Fs. But I wouldn't be truthful if I said students don't receive an F, because I have seen it many times. But I can tell you this, I don't think I've ever seen an F based on the work that was done. It's because work was not turned in. And so we are looking at our grading system and making some changes to help support students and student learning. But you will see students receiving those typical grades A through F. And if a student has a grade point average of 3.5 or above, they will be on the honor roll. And there's an honor roll reception at the beginning of all the quarters. So at the beginning of second quarter, there'll be an honor roll reception here in the Performing Arts Center, otherwise known as the PAC. That happens about a week after the first quarter is over. So we will have an honor roll reception. We have plenty of sports and clubs going on. There is a meeting we have on Friday to discuss how sports are going to look this year. But just so you know, at New Brighton, typically we compete with other middle schools, and we have soccer teams, volleyball teams, basketball teams for both male and female students, cross country, track and field, wrestling, golf and softball. We've had flag football in the past, which was a relatively new addition. I'm hoping that we can have that again this year. And then I talked to the students today about clubs. We've had quite a few clubs over the years, and it often depends on student interest. But we do have we've had after school performing arts club. We had a beginning band club. We have had at times a fishing club where students would go down to the wharf in Capitola and fish off the wharf, chess clubs, anime clubs, surf clubs. So, and I told the students today, if there's a club that doesn't exist that they want to form, all they have to do is talk to a teacher and see if they would sponsor it so it can be held in the room after school, and the teachers there sort of supervising to make sure students are safe. And I think that's that's how the anime club or how the fishing club got started. People wanted to do that. So if your child wants to start a club, all they have to do is to get a teacher to sponsor it, and we can make it happen. Dress code. We have, I would say, a fairly lenient dress code, and the main point I'd like to get across with regards to the dress code is whatever students are wearing on their top. For example, I'm wearing a shirt, and whatever they're wearing on the bottom, I'm wearing pants. They have to meet in the middle. So whatever you're wearing on top has to meet whatever you're wearing on the bottom. Obviously, we don't want any t-shirts that exhibit any kind of images or wording that can be offensive. Anything that would be promoting alcohol or tobacco of that nature. The whole dress code is outlined in the student planner, and students typically get a student planner on the first day of school. I just received an email a few days ago saying that the planners are going to be delayed because of shipping issues, and I think we're hearing a lot about issues with shipping and supplies and materials, and it looks like it's affected our planners, so they won't be here until a little later on in I believe in September. But we can make an electronic version of the planner available so that you can take a look at that at home. And then students will get the hard planner in September. I believe they're coming. Do you want to talk about the portal, Ms. Hadrius?
I think I touched on that a lot, and we are getting a lot of questions in both our chat that I'm trying to answer and on our Google form. And so,
okay, well,
address some of the questions at the end though. But no, I touched on everything I wanted to say about the portal, unless there's some more questions.
Okay, well, that's the end of the slides. So
okay. Then we can start going through questions. Fantastic. I've got questions on YouTube and I've got questions in the forums. So let me go through the questions here. And I'll leave this link up here so you can see, and go ahead and put that in your browser if you have any questions. It's https tinyurl.com/NBMS parent. Okay, so one of the questions is, I can't find the school supplies list for my 6th grader. Can you show us how to find it? I can address that quickly. We are going to supply students with what they need for their classes. There might be something that a teacher asks, but it'll come through us first to make sure that the students have all their supplies. If there's a binder or something else, that you might have to get that. But as far as paper, pencils, colored pencils, glue sticks, we have all that, and we'll supply your students with that. They just need to bring a backpack. I don't know if you wanted to add anything about that, Mr. Broadhurst.
I think a binder would be helpful. I mean, yeah, a binder just to organize their materials, but all like paper, pencil, like you said, glue sticks, scissors, all those things are in the classroom where they're needed. And so, and I did tell the students today at the orientation that they really don't need to worry about supplies except bringing a backpack, and a 3-ring binder would be helpful to organize materials.
Worry about going out and buying anything now. Let's just wait till the next week, at the first week of school, and let the kids get their supplies, and then we'll see what else the teachers need, the students.
Also, we're also transitioning from distance learning to in-person learning back to something that's more like regular school. And so students will have their Chromebook. And so I imagine a lot of things will still be being submitted digitally in the classrooms.
Okay, so next question, my daughter missed most of the information day. Will it be repeated in the parents meeting? So hopefully we went through everything today that was the student leaders shared with the students today. And this is being recorded and it's on YouTube. So there will be a URL. And so we'll send it out to everyone, and students can watch it at their leisure, because I'm sure they'll want to watch Mr. Broadhurst and I give a presentation. But we'll also, all of this information will be reinforced at school in the first few days of school. What do they need to bring on the school in the first day? I think we covered that. Oh, locks for lockers. Yeah, lockers will be assigned to students after the probably second or third week of school, and all the locks that will be used will be distributed by us. They can't use their own individual lock.
Yeah, the reason every student has their own personal, the combination is only for that lock. And we use school locks because I have a key to every lock. It's one key for every lock, but all those combination locks have different combinations. And so if we need to get into a locker, I don't need to know the combination. I can just use my key. So, and it's always interesting to see that 6th graders particularly are very excited to get their first piece of independent real estate. Most 6th graders, most students enjoy having a locker, but not everybody does take advantage of that, but most do enjoy using a locker. Will they use school locks. They don't have to pay for the lock. They can, if they want to, buy the lock and it's their lock, but they don't have to. We'll issue a lock and they have to give it back at the end of the year unless they want to buy the school lock. And with regards to lockers, students decorate them. They put things inside, but they don't decorate them in a way that's permanent. Nobody spray paints the inside of their locker or does anything that's permanent. But they do. I've seen various locker organizers and knickknacks that hang in there that make them a little personal. So, but nothing permanent, please.
Okay, so the next question, and I'm going to go a couple more on the Google form, then I'll switch over to the YouTube chat. But I do see Lynn Nicow, one of our office assistants, is here, and so she's answering some questions in the chat as well. So I'll try to get to both.
Thank you, Lynn.
From the Google form, yeah, thanks, Lynn. Let's see. Oh, when will new students to the district be given their email access and credentials? So new students will receive their credentials on the first day of school. They are currently being set up, and the reason why there's a delay in all of this is because we just switched over to Infinite Campus, and new students are being registered as we speak. And so as soon as students get registered, then our tech team can create the email addresses, and it won't probably all be done until next Tuesday. Let's see. I logged into the new parent portal. There were no forms for me to complete. Okay, so where are the forms? So in the parent portal, because as a parent, I did that today as well. You have to click the more button. There's only a couple options showing right now because I turned everything off when I heard that the schedule could be seen. So there's just, I forgot 2 options, and then I think it says more. When you go to more, you'll see a couple links to fill out the forms there. And if you still need any help, please just call the office, or you can email Lori or Lynn in the office.
And thanks to all parents for your patience with navigating a new student information system. We have to go through the same process as you're going through, learning all the ins and outs of a new system. And I believe it's a better system than the one we had before, but it takes a while to get comfortable and used to it. And so thank you for your patience with that.
So we asked about, there was a question about school supplies and we answered that. And so there's a question about social distancing since the new Delta virus is more contagious. That's a great question. We actually are still encouraging social distancing. So when there is space to allow, students should keep their distance. So that distancing is still a part of the equation. It's just that the requirements that the CDC put on schools in the spring of 2021, which forced us to be in distance learning, those requirements are gone. It was 6 feet, then it went down to 3 feet, and now it's the mitigation strategies now used to keep kids in schools are your passive screening, right? Keeping kids home that are sick, and then wearing your mask indoors. So those are the mitigation strategies we're currently using, not the social distancing. Otherwise, we couldn't have classes in person because it's just not feasible. But yes, we will still be, the signs are around campus. We're still encouraging social distancing, definitely. What will happen during flex period? There was a parent that shared that the child felt that the time was unproductive. So flex period in the spring, yes, was a little bit different than the flex period that we envisioned for this next school year. This flex period is really, it's an intentional part of the instructional day for students. We are planning it to be a time for instruction, whether it's a time for instruction where a student needs help and needs some extra support, or perhaps it's a time for enrichment, or perhaps it's a time for social emotional learning exercises or activities or community building. Whatever it is, it's an instructional period. So it's not a time for, just not doing anything. It's actually a time for instruction. And so we're all new to this and the teachers are new to it. And we're all excited to develop a flex period that's really going to be meaningful and for our students and help support them. So we're really excited about this opportunity. And as we go on and we make changes to our flex period, we'll keep you all in the loop and let you know how it's going and what changes we've made to that to make it best for the students. Oh, what is the number to call our office? 831-464-5660. Question about a personal computer. Students do have to use school Chromebooks. And again, they will be issued the first day of school as long as all their paperwork is in. If it's not, we'll just wait till that paperwork is in for the Chromebook to be distributed. And the reason that we're doing that is not just to hold paperwork against you or anything. It's because there's actually an internet agreement form in there that needs to be filled out before the Chromebook can actually go to the student. The next question is there if there is a positive COVID case within a classroom, will the school close down or move to remote learning? That's going to be our modified quarantine. Did you want to talk about that? Or I can, Mr. Broadhurst.
Well, you can go ahead. Well, first of all, we were operating on the close contact, which is 15 minutes or more within a 24-hour period, less than 6 feet. So there may, if we did have a positive case, we'd have to investigate the positive contacts and then act accordingly on that. But I think it would be an overstatement to say we would close the whole school down.
Yeah, we're doing something called a modified quarantine where we want kids to be in school. And so as long as there's no symptoms and they're vaccinated, then students would just have to get tested. So there's these different scenarios that we'll be able to put together. Our district is putting together a handbook that will update all these different scenarios for all of our parents. And let me go through some more questions. Phone number, that's. I got that question. Flex period. The flex period is not optional. It is a part of the instructional day. It's the 7th period of the day.
Hi, Craig. It's Diane. Sorry.
The flex peer. Oh, so another question was about how students are going to access their portal if they forgot their password. So their password is going to be their student ID and then the 4 digits of their birthday. So they can call the office and we can help them get them signed in. A question about, oh, if you're not receiving any emails from the principal, please call one of our office staff, either Lynn or Alicia or Lori in the office, and they would be happy to help you with that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you're not receiving, if it's going to a spam folder, or there have been cases in the past where we've checked an email and it might be off by a digit or a letter.
I'll switch over to YouTube. Do students have to be vaccinated to attend school? And I see Lynn answering that. They do not, although Lynn, who is our vaccination guru, seventh grade students have to be vaccinated with the Tdap. So if students have not received the Tdap for seventh grade entry, they will not be able to go to school. But at this time, there are no mandates for the COVID vaccine. Pediatrician said in 5th grade, the kids get a health unit about puberty, but it was skipped because of distance learning. Will it happen in 6th? Yes, it will happen in 6th grade. Our health class is taught by Miss Welding, and all 6th grade students attend that class.
And there's also education along similar lines in 7th and 8th grade. And typically parents have a chance to preview any materials that relate to that.
I went ahead and actually changed the view for everyone because I need to Google some things. I have to use some Google Translate because there are some questions that are in Spanish. So I'm going to do some translating there. But in the meantime, there's a question, when will the website be updated? There has been some updates to the website, but yes, thank you for that. We need to add some more things, but the schedule should be up there and there should be some information on there, but we are actively working on updating the website.
Yeah, I was in there and I requested some updates to be made. I know some have been made, but yeah, it's something that requires constant attention.
Mm-hmm. So there is a question about elective options. I don't know if you got a chance to go over elective options and maybe
let me do that right now.
Yeah, and explain the 6th grade wheel while I do Google Translate. Thanks.
Yeah. So in 6th grade, the students go through an elective wheel, and there's 4 elective classes, and the 6th grade students have all of those classes for 9 weeks at a time. So we have art, health, Spanish, and woodshop. Those 4 electives last 9 weeks or a quarter, and every 6th grader will go through that wheel. So if you start in art, you'll have art for 9 weeks, and then you'll go to health for 9 weeks, then you'll go to Spanish for 9 weeks, and you'll finish the last quarter with 9 weeks of woodshop. Similarly, if you started in woodshop, then you'd go to art, then health and Spanish, and so on and so forth. So 6th grade electives, they're in a wheel, there's 4, they have them all. Students that are in 7th or 8th grade, their electives actually last 2 quarters or 1 semester. So whatever elective you have in August, you'll take that elective all the way until first semester ends, which would be the end of 2nd quarter. And then you'd have another elective for 3rd and 4th quarter or 2nd semester. And so for the electives in 7th and 8th grade, they have art and they have woodshop, and they have a couple of Spanish options. There's an exploratory Spanish class. There's also a high school Spanish class, which is a year-long class, which actually helps people to become advanced when they go to high school. And if they are successful in the high school Spanish, they can take Spanish 2 as a freshman in high school. We have a band elective, a healthy living elective. We have a coding elective. There is the AVID elective class for 7th and 8th graders. We also have yearbook / school newspaper elective. So there's quite a selection for students to choose from for elective classes. And in the second semester, there's also an Art 2 class for students who've taken Art 1. And sixth graders towards the end of this school year will get a chance to choose elective classes for their 7th grade year. And if you're a new 7th or an 8th grader recently registered and you haven't been able to select an elective, I would just ask that the parent email myself here at school and let us know so we can make sure that we get an elective class for your student.
Great. So, and this question was about a parent needing help to fill out the back to school application. So any help that you may need, you can come into the office. And can you please explain that in Spanish, Mr. Broadhurst?
Ok, si hay una persona que necesita ayuda llenando las formas de la escuela, tú puedes llamar aquí en la oficina. Tenemos una secretaria que habla español y nosotros podemos ayudarte.
Great, thank you. And let's see. Questions about, science camp. Yes, unfortunately, the last 2 groups of 5th grade students have missed science camp. I did reach out to the science camp people to see if it's a possibility for possibly 6th graders to go. And I did not hear back from them. So at this time, my response to that would be there are no plans. Although I did submit an application, but I'm assuming there will be, a lot of groups of students that want to attend. So at this time, there are no plans. And let's see. Kids carry their backpacks all day. Can they choose their elective? I think you talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Or what time so the hours of the school day are now 8:40 to 3 o'clock. It is not 2:20. So students start at 8:40 and they get out at 3 o'clock. But to be clear, the 0 period is for, for any student that takes a class during the day that, and they would want to take an elective. So again, if the student's an AVID, or if the student's taking a band, but maybe they want to take a wood shop, or if the student has a learning center or an ELD class, or, there's a lot of different classes that the student might be in, and they would want to take the 0 period PE so they could take an elective during the day. And then we do have a map on the campus, but you'd have to come onto campus to get a map. All students today received a map, so they would know where their classes are, but we don't display that on the website. Oh, after school program. Yes, we do have an after school program. The Capitola, City of Capitola Rec, they have, we will be hosting an after school program for 6th through 8th grade students here. And you should have received information in your email, but if not, we can, Mr. Broaders, did you send out a flyer regarding that, or?
I don't believe I did, but we can pass that on.
Definitely.
Also, I want to point out that if your student is in that out of school time or after school program that's organized by the City of Capitola, they're bringing the elementary students to New Brighton. They're holding their classes here also. And so if you had a student who's in elementary and in middle school, they'll both be here for that, which makes it pick up a little bit easier, but they'll be in separate rooms. So there'll be an elementary room and there'll be a middle school room.
Yeah, thanks for that. Did separate clothes for PE? I think we touched on that a little bit, or did we do that today with students?
I talked to the students today. So with regards to PE clothing, the PE teachers talk to the students, and they don't need to dress out for PE until, I want to say it's almost like 10 days into school. definitely not the first week, and won't be the first 3 days. Possibly the second full week is when they'll start dressing.
Okay, so I'm getting some comments. This is actually working out really well, this Google form and being on YouTube. I was a little worried about not being able to communicate, but it looks like the map wasn't passed out today. It was actually the calendar, and I think the schedule was passed out today. So
That's
yeah, that's a really good point. So the maps will be distributed the first day of school. So we will have, our staff will be here, and we'll all be here, and we'll have maps that we'll be able to distribute. But once students go to their first period teacher, they will get a hard copy of their schedule with the map printed on to it as well. So they will have the map in hand on that first day of school. I think that's it for the Google form. Oh, will Infinite Campus be the new Illuminate Home connection? Yeah, that is correct. Infinite Campus is a student information system, just like Illuminate was. Illuminate's no longer a student information system. That's why we had to switch. So yes, the Infinite Campus takes the place of Illuminate. And I think I'm going through here. Oh, is there a cafeteria? I think we talked about that. Students will be eating outside as much as possible, but they can, again, they have access to the cafeteria to get their free lunch or free breakfast, and also to buy individual items or a separate lunch if they'd like to. And let me see questions. Oh yeah, thanks, Lynn. I forgot, I remember we were talking about putting the map on in the folder today, but that didn't happen. Okay, great. Any other questions?
Well, I just wanted to say it's, I'd much rather be standing in front of a group of parents in our PAC. And this is, even though we've been going through virtual meetings and meetings such as this for over a year now, it still is not I would still prefer to be in front of you and making connections with you all. And I hope that as we progress through this year, we can get to the point where we can have meetings in person on campus, because it helps strengthen the connection between the school and the home. And whenever there's a strong connection between the school and the home, students typically perform better. And so I'm cognizant of the fact that this isn't the best way to pass out information, but it's one that we're doing right now to try to make sure that we are doing our part in keeping any kind of rising numbers down. And I look forward to seeing you all on campus at some point this year, and hopefully in the near future.
So Mr. Broadhurst, there are a couple questions that I just wanted to, that I'm seeing now that I had missed. And there's a question about English proficiency tests. And I'm a little unclear about that question. So I can explain what I can tell you about English proficiency tests. Those are done for students whose first language was not any language other than English. And so I'm not quite sure which English proficiency test you're referring to. So if you want to add a follow-up question to be more specific, I can try to answer that. But students that had their first language be a language other than English, they take an English proficiency test each year. Yes, and take additional English language development classes to help with their proficiency in English. And then I saw another question in here that was really good that I wanted to touch base on. From Drew, mentioned that you had mentioned, Mr. Broadhurst, about language arts and social studies being period 1 and period 2. So what are the subjects? So yeah, that was just an example. So you could have language arts and social studies, other periods during the day.
It'd be 3, 4, or 5, 6.
Yeah, but you would also have a math class, and you'd have a PE class and an elective class and a science class. So it just depends. Everyone's schedule is going to be a little bit different.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
hopefully that answers the question.
Some people will have language or some people have humanities 1, 2, some people have it 3, 4, and some people will have it 5, 6.
And then another question, can students receive emails? Yes, we will definitely, once everybody's student emails are up and running, communication will also go to students a lot. So please encourage your students to check their emails for information from the school. And are we considering a mask mandate all the time? We are following the required or the recommendations from the California Department of Health, which is typically aligned with the CDC. So whatever the California Department of Public Health is recommending, that's what we're following. And currently it's mask indoors and not outdoors. And as electives compulsory, yes, they are. They're part of the students' day. And I think that was it. Oh, back to school night. This question about back to school night. I don't know if you wanted to touch base on that a little bit. It is going to be.
Yes, we are going to, at this point, the plan is to hold the back to school night in person. And I need to pull up my calendar because I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I'll call either.
I think it's,
No, I don't know. I don't have it on my calendar. We will get that information to you.
I'm trying to,
You want to look for it? Okay, and I'll see if there's any more questions and then we'll wrap it up because it's 6:01 and we
Yeah.
really appreciate all of you being here, taking the time out of your evening to be a part of this. And I was a little worried that it wouldn't be interactive, but it actually worked out with the chat and the Google Forms, so that's good.
so the NBMS back to school night is August the 26th. So it's going to come up pretty quick. That's a Thursday, August 26th, starting at 6 p.m. And it normally goes till around 7, it's been 7:50 p.m. because you'll go to each of your students' classes. You'll follow your student's schedule for about 10 minutes at a time. But we'll send information out about the back to school night. And I'm hoping that we can see you all in person then. And in closing, if this is your first experience with middle school and your child is a little nervous about it, that's totally normal. Students get worried about getting lost, and we've never lost a student in the 10 years that I've been here. After about 3 days, 2 to 3 days, most of the students, you'd think they'd been here for 6 months already. They get their schedule, they get how to get to their classes, and they enjoy the variety of teachers, and they enjoy meeting new friends. And so to feel nervous about coming to school is totally expected and normal. It's just that after about 3 days, most of our students have made that transition and they feel really comfortable and they really enjoy coming to the middle school. And we want to make our school a safe place where students can learn and create great memories. And look forward to getting to know our new families.
And I do have to answer one question because there's been someone very patient asking a question and that we kept on missing. Okay, so is Zoom and in class happening at the same time during the 10-day quarantine, or do they just miss? Okay, so that's a really great question. We will not be doing the zooming in for classes. So if a student is absent, they won't be able to zoom in, but they will still have access to all their materials because they'll have their textbooks at home. They'll have their Chromebooks to be able to communicate with their teacher and be able to access Google Classroom and to continue doing the work. So they'll still be able to be a part of it. There just won't be that direct zooming. And yes, if the student falls in that 10-day quarantine option, or the 10-day quarantine because the student is symptomatic or sick or positive COVID or any of those criteria that we had listed earlier, then yes, there will be an option for independent study. And is there a minimum number of days a student has to be out? That would be the 10 days. Am I correct, Mr. Broadhurst?
Um,
Uh,
no, well, you could come back earlier if you had a reduction of symptoms or a negative test or a doctor's note saying it was.
Let us, the independent study rules are changing for this year. So we'll dive into that. We'll learn the new laws and the regulations, and we will make sure we communicate it with everyone. But there definitely are some changes to the independent study because of COVID. So we will let you all know. And I think that's it. Thank you all for being here. We have a really nice, here's a thank you NBMS office staff as a shout out to our office staff. Lynn, Lori, and Alicia for being so welcoming and helpful. We're a new family to SUSD with 2 students at New Brighton, and we look forward to a great year. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Before I go, this could be a good chance to talk about pickup and drop off. Pickup. Well, particularly pickup at every school site I've ever been to has been kind of busy, to put it mildly. And New Brighton is no different. Drop off is not so bad because people are dropping off within about a half-hour window, but pickup, everybody's picking up at the same time. And it works fine. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. We have pickup happening right outside our front office where the flagpole is and the PAC. Some people will arrange to pick up their students at Monterey Park, which is just past the district office. And some people will pick up by the gym on Washburn Avenue. And so we just ask you to be patient. It normally gets a little bit busy, but it's once people get used to the system, it works fairly well. In our parking lot in front of the school where the flagpole is, we ask that you'll see people are pulling in, and you can form 2 lines, one line close to the curb and one line close to the cars parked. That allows people to move down the middle if they've picked up their student and somebody in front of them is still waiting for their student to come. So you'll see me out there kind of directing cars this way to the left and this way to the right, and leaving a space down the middle so that people who've already have their children don't have to wait in the line and they can come out down the middle. You'll see how it works, and it goes fairly well. But yeah, just takes a little bit of getting used to and a little bit of patience and kindness.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
All right, well, I'm.
Oh, so just mentioned about bikes, final question, sorry, that just came in. Yes, the bikes will be put into the bike enclosure, and please have students wear a helmet. Helmets
Must be wearing a helmet.
Wearing a helmet.
We have a lot of bike riders, and we have a bike to school event every month, typically the first Thursday of every month, not just twice a year like many schools have. And so we get a lot of people skating to school, scootering to school, bike riding to school. Yes, once they get to campus, they have to walk their bike or skateboard. They need to be wearing a helmet, and we lock them up in our bike racks. We still suggest that students should put a lock on their bike, even though our bike racks are locked once school begins. Just an extra layer of safety. But we get many students biking to school, and just please make sure they're wearing a helmet.
All right, I think that's it.
Okay, look forward to seeing you on campus, hopefully at some point in the future. Back to school night looks like the closest date at this point. And again, that's Thursday, August 26th at 6 p.m. Thank you for your attendance, and I hope this is the start of 3 great years if you're a new 6th grader. And also, let's not forget, we have some new 7th graders and a few new 8th graders. And if any of those families are out there, welcome also.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye for now.